Well, once again, we have a great day today, and that's classic. We have an actor that I mean, this guy is amazing. He has done over 400 episodes of television alone. He also starred, and I hope I pronounced this right. He starred as Sergeant Joseph Getrar and
Getrer
Getrer.
will not be the first person to make any mistake.
Well, there he is. You've heard his voice. You see his face. It's Robert Pine from Chips. And Robert, thanks for being on here.
Well, thank you, John, for asking me. I'm happy to do it.
Oh yeah, it's a thrill to have you on. I research everyone that I've had on the show, and I have a general sense of your background. But boy, I looked into yours and I was like, this is unbelievable how much you have done. It really is. Impressive, really impressive.
Well, it'll be this May, it'll be 60 years I've been doing this. So these numbers now are really scary. I'm
Well,
82. I came out here when I was 22. So it's uh, it's really something. I mean, I'm I'm really thrilled to have had the career I've had.
yeah.
I've never been the big guy particularly, but I've continued working, and that's there's something to be said for that. So
Well, I can't remember if I told you or not, but I have an acting background myself, and
yeah.
I have a tremendous respect for it. Having been in the industry a while myself, there's no small little angle to this. It's amazing you've been at it for 60 years in the body of work. So no, I'm
uh,
telling you, you should be quite proud of that.
well, I am proud of it.
Yeah, you should be. So, what do you remember about your? We'll talk about Chips, and then we'll get into the 18 million other pieces of work you've done. But what do you remember about your audition for Chips in the first place?
Well, I remember my agent coming to me and saying they want you to come in for an interview for this pilot for this show. It's a cop show, and I said, "Oh my God." I said, they've done the cop shows have been done to death. This
Hmm.
isn't gonna go anywhere. Well, why don't you go give it a try? Okay, I went over there, I gave it a try. And I told the guy, Rick Rosner, I said, is this gonna go? I mean, this seems to me like you know, this is um, haven't they done a lot of these? He said, this is gonna go. I said, okay. So I tried out for it and they picked me. And then you had to go to the network. And he picked Larry, Eric, and myself as one team. And then there was another team he picked that he felt was substantially lower because he wanted this team. And and of course it worked out. And lo and behold, there I am doing this show. And and he was right. It had another feel to it. It sort of reminded me of I did a lot of, since you've seen all my work, a lot of Westerns when I started, and I love doing Westerns.
Yeah.
One of the first things I did when I came out to Hollywood was to learn how to ride a horse. Best thing I ever did. And I was a pretty good rider, and I felt very comfortable on a horse. Um, and ours was like a modern day Western. We were on three horses. They happened to be motorcycles. We were the good guys, and then we went after the bad guys, just like Western. So, in a way, it was a Western. I, I
Interesting.
was never as good on motorcycles as I was on a horse, though.
Yeah. Did you? I definitely want to talk about that. I know you were a contract player with, I believe it was Universal.
Yeah.
But with Chips, did you? First of all, for people that are out there, Roger
Mhm.
Rosner. Yeah, he was the creator, but he was also a reserve deputy with the sheriff's department himself.
Yes, he
So
was. I think that's where he sort of got the idea.
yeah. So did you yourself, had you ridden a motorcycle prior to Chips?
No, I didn't. And I'll tell you, before we did the pilot, we went on a Sunday to the MGM lot. And for the people who don't know what a lot looks like, it's just a lot of these sound stages that are interspersed with roadways, so you can get to the. So we use that as the thing, and so they were showing. Now Larry had ridden a lot, Eric hadn't ridden so much, and then there was me, and we're riding around, and you're on here. One handles the brake, the other's the clutch, and no, I'm sorry, one is the the clutch, and one is the accelerator.
Ah,
And so I turn this corner and I go down, and there's like a wall here, and I'm coming to the wall because you can either go right or left. And so I go there and I sort of panic, and thinking that I was turning down the accelerator, I turned it up and
oh,
went bang right into the wall. And I didn't get hurt, but my ego was hurt pretty good.
yeah.
And I must say, as we were doing the show, and I was only out there, like I wasn't out on the bike every episode like those guys were. A lot of my stuff, I'd have easy weeks. I mean, if I worked 5 days a week, that was a lot, and
Hmm.
I rarely did that. But so when I was out, they'd create this wide gap for when I left the stage, when I went by the camera, because usually I go by the camera, which was here, and then go right down. So no, and I never wrote it after that because I'm just too absent-minded. I would probably not be with the living if I
Yeah.
had stayed on that bike.
I understand. I understand. They're, you know what? They're wonderful, and I have full respect for people that love their Harleys and everything like that. But they are dangerous. There's no doubt about it. You know. So I don't.
And my brother, who was 8 years younger than me, and he died when he was 64, unfortunately. But he rode a BMW. Our father gave him a BMW as a graduation present that he picked up in Germany, rode it around Germany, and then had it shipped home. And he never drove a car, never owned a car. And he drove across the United States maybe 3 or 4 times and never had a serious accident because he
Wow.
was very mindful. He always wore his leathers, and he was very safe at it. But I'm just the opposite.
Yeah, right. I gotcha. Did
Yeah.
by the way, since we are on that, were there I had heard and I read a little bit, but that there were quite a few kind of dangerous moments that happened for like Eric and I don't know if it also happened for Larry or not. Were
No,
big
I don't think Larry went down. I did a couple of times, but it was not anything.
yeah.
And but Eric went down and got very seriously hurt because the bike came on him and cracked his sternum here and hit his heart. And we
Oh,
were very worried about him. And actually, Larry saved his life. He went down and did CPR on her or whatever it is, and till the ambulance came. And yeah, it was not a good thing.
oh my
And
gosh. I mean, I had no idea. And the fact that Larry saved his life. Wow, what a moment.
yeah, yeah, it was it was chips for real life there.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Wow. Did you feel you've done a lot of roles, but obviously you're playing a police officer. Did you take your role a little bit more seriously, I guess, than you might have taken to other roles that you had in the past?
Well, of course, I'm a lead on a series, so I have to, really see how it is. But it was very nicely set up because, it was two kids and an adult. I'm the
Right.
adult. Eric is Ponch is the real kid getting in trouble, and Larry is there trying to cover for him and keep him like he's not going to do something too wild here. And that was a key part of our the format of the show that I kept, they tried to get away with things and I tried to, and I was there to discipline them. And it was really a well thought out pattern for our show. And we always had a combination of three big events, either two chases and a crash, or two crashes and a chase through each episode. We never drew our guns except once, and we put our hands on our belts to warn people not to do something crazy. And when we did have a big accident, you had to see people move in there that no one was killed, because we this was a show, and actually I have the thing somewhere, the pitch that was made to NBC that our producer made to do the pilot. And it was framed as, this is a show that the whole family can sit down and see, and they're good guys and they're bad guys, but always at the end of the episode, the good guys win. And 5 minutes after it, you can forget it. It's not a big message show or anything like that. It's entertainment. Yeah. And that was always very clear.
It was. I always enjoyed watching. I was definitely a fan. By the way, did you know Eric or Larry prior to the show?
No, I didn't know them at all.
Interesting.
And I was, I'd done a lot more stuff than those guys had. And it was very, very well mapped up, and we got along. There's rumors that there were fights on the set, or people didn't like one another. And I explained it by, we're a family. You're going to have those things. It's not, it was never terribly serious. And, but there were family squabbles. And, and in the beginning, I would say for the first year, I was, I'd done more work than those guys were, and they didn't, and they were sending these guys out every weekend in the beginning to promote the show. And I was, I was a little bit, why didn't they send me with them? But this was about those two guys. Yeah. So I remember, and they were getting all this fan mail. And I went to we had been on about 2 months, or 3 months maybe. And I went to the MGM promotion department. I said, well, where's my fan mail? These guys are getting, they looked at one another very seriously and said, well, you haven't gotten any. I said, and that's a real, that brings you right down to earth, where you stand in the pecking order. And it was all right after that. But, in the beginning, I felt the guys didn't realize that you can't do this show by yourself. And all those other guys, I mean, we had a really wonderful cast for the first 5 years.
I want to take a moment to let you know about a very special night, an evening with the entire Chips cast, happening November 10th in Long Beach, California. I'll actually be doing the Q&A portion of the night. Larry Wilcox, Erick Estrada, Robert Pine, Brody Greer, Paul Linke, Bruce Penhall, they'll all be there. It'll be dinner and cocktails, trivia, raffles, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. You'll see the information here, as well as I will leave it in the description below if you're interested. Check it out. It's going to be a blast. Okay, let's go back to the interview with Robert Pine. Mhm.
And I um, they were really good guys, but you got to have them to make the show.
I
And
agree.
I didn't feel at the time even these guys weren't getting the recognition or the just the what the respect of some of the other guys and the producers for that matter.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like we could do these shows with just you three, you two guys, and well, we'll throw Pine in, but I don't think we need the rest. And it's just not in any show, it's that way.
I agree with
And
you.
I've always said that if you're one, two, or three on a cast list, you're the host of the show.
Yep.
It behooves you to welcome your guest stars who come on.
Mhm.
Nothing is harder than for a guy who has three lines to come in for a part. You know, nervous as hell and whatever. And it doesn't take much to say, hey, welcome. Hey, need anything? Let us know, you know, blah, blah, blah. And that really didn't happen.
Yeah, right.
So, you know,
That's
I've
tough.
always got that. And I don't know whether my son took my cue or not, but I hear anybody who works with him is very happy with how he was treated, how he was treated by him and the other people. So, and that means a lot.
Yeah. Well, for everybody out there, in case they don't know, your son that you're referring to is Chris Pine, who obviously was Captain Kirk in the Star Trek movies and umpteen other things. And
As I tell people, we don't worry about him anymore. It's just fun.
I love it. I'll tell you a quick segue. He actually, as I told you, I have an acting background. I did quite a bit of voiceover, and I was with an agency called Sutton Barth and Venari at one
Oh
time.
yeah, I was with
Oh,
SBV. I
okay.
did them for commercials, although I took myself out of the game a while ago. But yeah,
Yeah. So but Chris was there. He was there at one point,
sure,
and
yeah.
I had seen
He's
that.
still, I think he's still there. I mean, he
Oh, is he
does,
still there? Yeah. Well, maybe
well, he
it's.
only does one thing now, and that's he's the voice of BMW.
Oh, I got you. Well, if you're going to do one thing, that's a good one.
That's not bad.
But I was going to tell you that he at the time he had come in, and I had heard the exact same thing. I'd seen him in there. He was just like a regular, same thing. Like, it's a job, and
Yep.
how are you? And so I was just going to say it was nice because I was a fan at the time, without a doubt. And it's great to see that. It really is.
No, I'm very proud of him. You know, when somebody says, I've worked with your son, what a great guy he is, good to be, he's good to us on the set and everything. That means more to me than anything,
Mhm.
more than the reviews of his movies, more than whatever. I mean, that just, I'm very, very proud of that because I think he's a tribute to the business he's in and he gives the business a good name or whatever he's working on a good name. So I'm very happy with that.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's go back. We'll go back to Chips. Tell me this. So did you have any say in your character at all? Like, sometimes an actor, you work up an actor's bio or whatever. Did you have any say in the part?
Well, I did tell uh, Rick Rosner in the beginning. I say, at least I don't want to be in a scene where I'm just the background, where you have a scene and I'm putting away papers in the background. I mean, if I'm in a scene, put me in a scene. It can be one line or whatever, but I want to be in a scene. And the two writers we had been in the military. So they wrote really good stuff for me. I really appreciated what they gave me. And usually when I was in something, it had some meaning. And that meant a lot to me. I mean, I would love to have worked more. They gave me a couple episodes, and my wife, Gwen Guilford was her acting name. She played my wife on the show, and that was about 7 or 8 episodes. And they came to me and said, I read that I had this wife, and I came in and said, why don't you give this to my real wife? And then I heard they were lowballing her. I said, no, 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 no. You got to give her top of the show. I mean, come on. You're talking a few bucks. It's my wife. Come on. And we're going to bring something to the show here.
Oh.
So anyway, she played my wife, and it was fun. To an interesting thing there. She got pregnant with Chris. I think it was probably well, he was born in 1980. So and I went in and told Cy Shermack, who was the line producer, and I said, Gwen's pregnant. We ought to do something with that because that's a good that's a good storyline. So it's great. We go on. She's getting bigger and bigger, and it's about her this 8th month. And I say, when are we going to do this? She's going to pop pretty soon. Oh, we're doing it next. Well, I said, perfect. And the actors went on strike.
Oh.
And she had the baby over the strike. And when we came back, we did the episode, but she had to wear, a thing underneath and everything. So
Oh,
yeah,
too funny. Too
well laid
funny.
plans. Yeah, right.
Exactly. By the way, how was it acting with your real wife? What was that
That was
like?
great. It was fine. It was great. She got to have a motor home of her own with me, so it was great.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
yeah, no, she was great. She got out of acting shortly after that, and when she was about, I guess she was about 40, because at that time, women over 40 who didn't have a huge name, and
Mhm.
she'd done two shows that sold, one with Joe Namath and one with Eileen Brennan,
Oh,
that
wow.
didn't last. So a year. And but she went back to school and got her master's degree in psychology and became a psychotherapist. And she just retired after, I don't know how many years. It was very,
Wow.
very successful, as my daughter is. She's a psychotherapist also and is very successful. So
Isn't that cool? Isn't
yeah,
that cool how
it's great.
that came
Great.
full circle? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. By the way, when you got the part of the sergeant on Chips, where was your career kind of at that point? Because I mean, as an actor, I see your role and I think that was the big break. That was the big one. So where were you just prior to that, career-wise?
Just prior to that, just prior to that, I'd done in we started in 77. I think in 90, I'm sorry, in 77, in 75 into 76, I did a spinoff of, I'd done a lot of work with Quinn Martin.
Mhm.
He did a spin off of Streets of San Francisco.
Wow.
And so I did this. It was called Burt D'Angelo Superstar with Paul Sorvino.
Oh, wow.
And but that didn't last. And I mean, I didn't get along well with Sorvino at all. I mean, he died, and I don't want to be disparaging, but I just leave it that
Well,
I didn't get along all that. We
okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. I'm not trying to put Paul down, nothing like that. I'm just curious, what kind of a guy was he at that point? Because that's really early on in Paul's career.
Well, he we went out for a walk when I got there, and I was very impressed because I guess, won an Emmy on Broadway for, oh God, I forget what championship season.
Oh, wow.
And we went a walk. He says, well, I'm probably one of the 3 or 4 best actors in my generation. I said, oh, and I'm buying the whole thing. I'm so naive.
Oh my gosh.
And then he would tell me how to do this and that. And, that was where I just didn't like that
I
at all.
understand.
And even when, well, again, he's
No, I
passed
know. I know
on,
you're not, I'm not trying to
and
be
no,
scandalous or
no,
anything. I'm really sincere on that. No problem.
I don't like to badmouth people I've
Yeah,
worked.
no problem. No problem at all.
They're like family secrets.
I get it. I get it. It's always interesting though, when someone has worked with someone when they were kind of coming up or whatever, and then where you see them now or later in their career, it's always interesting to see where they what they were like though in that
Uh,
moment. So it's kind of cool.
but also that just after that, uh, before in 1976, I did a movie called Empire of the Ants. And it's,
Sounds great.
yes, it was great. And actually, it was with, um, uh, oh God, don't do this to me. My memory is, it had a very nice cast. It did, oh God.
I'll
What's
even look it up for you. I want to know
Oh,
myself
for
now.
it. Well, look it up. I just saw her the other day that at the same place we were where we met up
Oh
at the
yeah, yeah,
Hollywood
yeah, yeah, yeah.
show.
Yeah.
It was oh God, she had a line a mile long, and
Oh
I
wait,
was,
we're not talking about Priscilla Presley.
no, it wasn't Priscilla.
Okay,
It was,
let's
come
see.
on,
Oh, come on, I'll look it up
the
for you.
English woman. She's
Oh wait, Juliet Mills?
no, Julie
No,
was there, but I saw
here
Maxwell.
I'm
Uh,
looking it up. I mean, normally I don't do this in the interview, but I can't resist
no,
this
no,
one.
go. You can cut this out. See,
Joan Collins. No,
Joan,
heck with that. We don't need to cut it out.
no,
Joan Collins.
Joan Collins, and I went up. I went in front of the line. I said, "Hey, Joan, you remember me?" And she says, "No." And she's 90 some odd.
No, I know. I saw
I
her.
said, "Well, I was in your favorite film. I was in Empire of the Ants." Now, if you look at her resume that she puts out, that's not mentioned. And anyway, she was a good sport when we were doing it. I mean, she was a good broad, as you would say. I mean,
Yeah.
and never ever challenge her to a Scrabble game.
Oh,
She,
really?
she's a killer.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
really good. And anyway, I get killed on early in the movie, and you probably didn't see it on the table, but there's a great shot of this. I'm going over the back of the boat, and this giant ant is on my crotch,
Oh my God.
deflowering me, or whatever you would call it, deballing me. And I mean, it's a great picture. And um, anyway, it was so then I got chips, and I got a series that I'd done a number of pilots. I
Yeah.
did a pilot called, what was it? It was about the U.S. Justice Department, and it was in the 60s, was it? Or in the 60s? Anyway, it's the year that they put the city, it was in Nixon administration, and they put the sitting head of justice in jail for something that he did.
Oh,
And
geez.
so that didn't sell. And that was a fun one. And I did a couple other ones, but um, anyway,
Yeah.
I'm very, very delighted that Chips had a good sale like it did, because it gave me a lot of work, and I still get residuals. So it was nice.
Oh
And
gosh.
I think
Yep.
any actor who has a steady job for 6 years like I did has to be very, very grateful.
It's the dream. Yeah. We're all every actor out there shoots for that. What did you know, by the way, that the show was coming to an end? I've talked to quite a few um actors and they're like, we didn't even know, some guy, my agent called and said, hey, by the way, the show's over. What was it like for you?
I knew it was going to end because the sixth year, they wanted to change the whole thing. They let Larry go for whatever reason.
Hmm.
They recast it with somebody. They let our other lady go and brought in a new woman and a new cast,
Mm-hmm.
and a new producer who was, I think, was just awful.
Mm-hmm.
The shows were like they were not cop shows anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I directed an episode in the 5th season, which Cy very nicely gave me, and I loved doing it. And because the crew, and they changed the whole crew, we had a great crew.
Mm-hmm.
We did these shows in 7 days, and nowadays an hour show, even where they don't have accidents and all that stuff, they do them in eight days.
Mm-hmm.
And and I so it was a great experience for me. And then I asked to do one the next year. I got this horrible show, and it was all about magic and stuff, and people disappeared. And I mean, it's like science fiction or something. It's
Right.
nothing with cops. And I just hated, we all hated the whole season. It was terrible. Some nice people came on, and that were nice to meet, but and did a good job, did the best they could, but
It
no,
wasn't Chips.
it wasn't Chips.
Yeah.
So
Did
I knew it was gonna go off.
so you just, but it wasn't like someone officially told you. You just knew this is going to be the end of it.
Yeah, Eric says that he knew it was going to be off because MGM wanted to quit after 6 years. I don't know how much, if that is a true statement or not, but
Yeah.
um,
How did you like the difference between acting and directing an episode? Because obviously you're still acting in it, I'm
yeah,
assuming.
I'm still acting in it, and that was fine. It was before they had what they call Video Village now, where
Mhm.
everybody has a iPad. They're all the different departments are seeing the shot as you see it.
Yep.
So they didn't have that then, all this electronic stuff, and you always depended on your Peter Salem, who was our camera operator. He said, Peter, to get it, look good, good, okay, that's a cut, let's move on.
Mhm.
And, to watch for the microphone that might come into a shot or
Sure.
something like that. So that was always good. And yeah, and everybody was very supportive when I did it. And even the guys, I was saying, let's speed it up. Let's keep it. We want to keep the whole show moving,
Mhm.
not this stop and talk stuff. But so I mean, I enjoyed it and would like to have gone on with it, but after Chips, it was like I was dead in the water. I didn't work a lot, and things got really tight.
Hmm.
And I had to make a decision whether I wanted to direct or act, and I thought I better do what I know and then get back into acting. So I mean into directing. So and it picked
Interesting.
up. It picked
Yeah.
up.
I think that's something that I have heard multiple times, by the way, from different actors, from whether it be a sitcom, drama, whatever. They're on, you're like, hey, you're the guy from Chips. Hey, you're the guy from Chips. And then the show ends. And I mean, a classic example, Henry Winkler, the Fonz, come on. But I'll tell you, he said the same thing. It ended and he's like, I got no work. I mean, it's like no one is hiring you, you know?
Oh, it's really it's I mean I went on an interviews, a few interviews to get things, but it didn't work. I wasn't Larry sort of quit and became an entrepreneur of his own choice, and Eric did a few things, but again, it was Larry and Eric who were the hot shots who were
Yeah.
gonna. Your name is gonna sell the show. Mine didn't sell the show, so
Mhm.
big deal that Robert Pine's gonna be a guest star. So and I understand that it's the business, and
Yeah.
um, it's the way it goes.
Yeah. Did by the way, when the show ends, then Did you guys stay in touch? You, Eric, and Larry, were you in touch, or did
Uh,
a period go by with none?
a period went by where we didn't get together that much. I see Larry and Eric now because we go to these signing things, as they were supposed to be at this Hollywood show, but they had to drop out for whatever reason. But I see it some other shows. But my biggest buddies were like um, um, well, the guy who played Artie. Um, what was his name? Artie Grossman. Grossman. He was a good friend of mine, and a talent, a more. They never gave him much to do,
Hmm.
but he does these one man shows, and I have to tell you, Paul Linke, they're wonderful. He
Wow.
is really a genius at doing one man shows. He does one on Charles Nelson Riley now.
Yeah.
Died, and I
Yeah.
know Charles because he directed me in a play, and uh, and Paul knows him because he directed him in a one man show,
Wow.
and you can see it on YouTube if you go to it. And he does this show now about him, and I've got to tell you, it is a great show. He's
Wow.
on stage all by himself, and he tells these stories about him and how important he was to the business.
Hmm.
One of the first gay men who was known to be gay, who got a career out
Right.
of it, and things like that. And um, yeah, he's a good friend, and all those guys. Lou Wagner, who played the our motorcycle guy who fixed the motorcycles, and
Yeah.
all those guys. And actually, the um, guy who was the most successful from our show is the guy who plays Worf on all of the TV iterations
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Star Trek.
Michael.
Michael Dorn.
Thank you. Yes.
Michael Dorn, and he's a great guy. And actually, he's done better than any of us. And
Wow.
and I forget who the black guy on our last year also did very well. He was on the oh God, I forget two. He had two long running series after that,
My gosh.
and when it was harder for black people of color to get work, so when I
Yeah.
said take your hats off to those guys.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. So you grew up in New York, I saw, and I thought this was so interesting. Okay, so you're in acting in high school, but you actually go into pre-med at Ohio Wesleyan. But what happened that you suddenly said, you know what? Great that I got the pre-med, but I'm gonna be an actor. I mean, that's quite a commitment.
Yes, it is, but you have to realize something. I tell this story. I learned about 25, 30 years ago that I'm ADD,
Mhm.
attention deficit disorder, which
Yes.
means that I'm easily distracted. When I come into a bump in the road, I'll do anything to not deal with a bump in the road, but go over here and do something with this. Which means I graduated from high school with a solid C plus average.
Yeah, yeah.
But I wanted to be a doctor, came from Scarsdale, New York, which is a very Tony suburb of New York. So
Hmm.
all my father's peers were doctors, lawyers, or business executives. That's the way it went.
Yeah.
And so in ninth grade, I was asked in a civics class, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I thought about it, so I'd be a doctor. You go out and you heal people, all these great, things
Yeah.
you can do. And, if you look into it a little bit closer, it really looks, and I wanted to be a general practitioner in Vermont. So I
Wow.
love the state of Vermont. Yeah. Now, wait, you look a little bit closer at that. What you see is probably more like a 1930s MGM movie
Yes, it
than a
does.
doctor's career.
Yeah.
So I go off to college with that in mind and take that C plus average with me and bang into the wall at the end of 4 years. Put in uh, try to get into medical school, to 10 medical schools, and was repelled by 10 medical schools. It ain't gonna happen. So what I do is I go, my roommate, who I'd been to high school with, who'd seen me do plays in high school,
Yeah.
and I was the lead in the play since the ninth grade. By happenstance, I hadn't turned in an English paper in the ninth grade, and went after school with my good friend, who also was from Scarsdale, and I submitted it to him, and without knowing, he was the head of the drama uh, uh,
Club?
drama club, right?
Yeah.
Said, do you want to um, try out for the play? I said, no, I play football. 150 pounds playing football, got the shit kicked out of me. But so I did try out for it, and he gave me this great part. And in the ninth grade, we'd do it for assembly. He'd cut down these Broadway plays into 45 minutes. And I went to a high school that was 7 through 12. We do it for the 7 through ninth grade, and then do another show for the 10th through 12th. And well, the first thing I get about the third line, there's this huge laugh. And it's like,
Yep.
booked. And so I'm on this, I get the best part for 4 years in a row. And excuse me just a minute.
No problem.
I have this webisode that I'm doing with a very nice man named John for his webcast. So excuse me. Okay. So the dogs haven't gone on a walk. They have not gone on a walk. They're dying for a walk. Okay. That was my wife, excuse me.
Well, it's nice to hear her. I that's what I love about this though. It's life. Life is going on. It's
I've been
okay.
going on.
Who cares?
So as
Yeah.
I was saying, so I went back to New York and roomed with my roommate, who was going to Columbia in postgrad in oceanography, and who since retired as one of the leading oceanographers in their field.
Wow.
And anyway, and I decided to go to Columbia and you can take some courses. You don't have to be in Columbia.
Yeah.
So I took about 3 or 4 courses. Within about 4 weeks, I said, I don't want to do this. I'm not a student. I know I'm not a student. And so then I said, Jesus, Jeff, what the fuck do I do? And he said, well, why don't you be an actor? You always like that. And for the first time in my life, it's just like, wow, yeah, that really appealed to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized in that moment, and as time went by, that really I was being a doctor for all the wrong reasons.
Sure.
It's not what I really, where my heart was. I mean, if I could have done it, yes, but I couldn't handle medical school and all that stuff. And the medical schools very wisely, for all patients looking for a doctor, refused my entrance, because I probably would have left bodies.
Wow.
No. And my bypass where the dogs had eaten.
I got it. I got it.
He
Trust
had
me.
had, and I thought, I don't- anyway.
Yes.
So
you go into acting. So you say that's it?
I go into acting, and this is a good story too.
Sure.
Because, okay. So in February, I decided to finish my semester there because my father paid for it. He was paying for the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And so then in February, my mother went to college in a place called Erskine College in Boston, which was a 2-year women's school. And she wanted to be an actress. And she'd do these plays there. And to fill the men's part, they would have men from Harvard come. And one of them was a playwright by the name of Robert Anderson, who did Tea and Sympathy and You Know I Can't Hear You When the Water's Running.
Wow.
And wrote the screenplay for a movie called Sand Pebbles and has others. So he was a legit guy. So I'd seen him the year before after I graduated up in Nantucket, Massachusetts, where my family had a summer home, and we did a summer show up there. Mothers, fathers, kids, everything.
That's pretty cool.
So I did it and sang a couple of songs in it and everything. And afterwards, my mother had a cocktail party, everybody had a cocktail party, big drinking place.
Yeah.
And he was there and whatever. And then he comes up and he says, so your mom says you want to be an actor. I said, I don't. I want to be a doctor. That's what I'm going to do.
Wow.
He said, well, if you ever change your mind, let me know. So I call him and I say, hi, Bob, this is Robert Pine. I think I'm going to take you up on your offer. I think I'd like to be an actor. This was in February. And you hear this pause on the phone, and you could read his mind. Oh, God, why did I do that? He says, well, why don't you come over and have dinner with Teresa and I? And he was married to Teresa Wright, who was a award-winning actress. She got an Oscar in 1940, I think. Teresa Wright is her name. You can look her up.
Well, do you know what she got it for? Do you remember by chance?
I've forgotten. It was in 1940 or 41.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah, and I came over and he proceeded for the next 2 hours to tell me what a terrible idea this was.
Oh, God.
And with the theory, I'm sure, that I've used and since then is this is a hard business. And if you can't overcome how tough it is, then you shouldn't be in it.
Yep.
So he told me all that stuff and then told me how people that he knew, what was his name? John Carr, who was in Tea and Sympathy on Broadway, did Oklahoma on film. Another guy, what was his name? Anyway, about 3 guys says they're miserable because they were in their 40s or whatever, and they were no longer young ingenues. There was a change here, and they're real hard. Carl Malden was one of them.
Wow.
Well, of course, they had great careers after that, although John Carr got out and became a lawyer, and I ran into him once when I went into this law office that he shared with other guys, and I passed and I said, are you John Carr? Yeah, I know Bob Anderson. He said, so he couldn't do well in it. Anyway, so then I called another friend of mine. Anyway, so when I told Bob that this is indeed he got me an interview with William Morris, Ashley Steiner, which was morphed into ICM after a while.
To continue watching the interview with Robert Pine, just go to the second episode of this interview, which is available now, and that's classic. Robert Pine continues to talk about how he was discovered, how he got his breaks, being on shows like Gunsmoke, family ties, parks and recreation. There's a lot here. Enjoy.